It has been 59 years since the August 28th, 1963 March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave that historic I Have a Dream speech. More than 200,000 people rallied alongside Dr. King that day, a movement that helped secure the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Human rights activists and the late Dr. King's son, Martin Luther King III, alongside his wife, Andrea Waters King, have launched a new coalition now with the Drum Major Institute, a progressive plan to reshape America's political landscape. They both join me now. Great to see you both.
Hi. Well,
hey. It's been a long time since seeing you all in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's start with you, Martin. Just that unforgettable I Have a Dream speech. 59 years later, your father's voice and words still empowering generation after generation of activists. But as you hear it again and again, I'm just curious, do you ever hear it or feel it differently?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I've listened to it thousands of times, but it is only the times that I hear it, which have been hundreds, that every time I'm actually hearing it, I'm moved to tears. We listen with our ears, as it is said, and we hear with our heart. And then, of course, are moved to action. And my hope is that our nation needs to take heed from, once again, listening and hearing this message that is so uplifting and creating and painting a picture for what can be. Obviously, we've not reached that mark, but we, at some point, will be able to realize the dream, I believe.
Andrea, I remember when you met Martin and the two of you married and started to build a family. You know, you jumped right in, taking a part of just the activism and the cause. Let's talk about the launch of this new coalition now, what it means to you, and what is the Drum Major Institute hoping to accomplish here?
What we are hoping to accomplish is, in a very real sense, realize the dream of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. We have to remember that Martin Luther King was an activist. He was a minister, but he also was a social justice activist. And actually, Coretta Scott King was involved in the peace movement before she met and married Martin Luther King Jr. What we want to do is for everyone to know that we are all a part of the dream of Martin Luther King Jr. And it's up to each one of us tapping into our unique powers and our passions and getting involved, that we really can change the trajectory of where we see our country going. So we have identified some very powerful, 40 powerful organizations, community activists that are every day on the ground fighting in a very real sense for democracy for all of us. And what we believe is that when they are fully funded, we've seen what happens here in Georgia with just a minimal amount of funding. When they're funded, that we really will see a change in public policies here in the country. We'll see a change in culture. And most importantly, we will see an America and a nation where all voices are represented. And we'll see laws. We've started to see more and more laws where rights have been taken away. What we will see is laws that lift us all up and not limit any of us.
And so, Martin, how do you plan to work with those organizers and advocates and companies, businesses that your wife just mentioned? You know, what issues are a priority for you as you are building the Drum Major Institute?
So first of all, our mantra is to eradicate the triple evils of poverty, racism, and violence. We do that, which my father talked about and my mother talked about in her life. We do that through embracing the values of peace, justice, and equity. We believe these organizations reflect the work that they're doing. Some may be registering, some may be educating on issues like, for example, felons who've paid their debt to society have to understand how the process works for them to be able to vote. There are all kinds of things. Some organizations are working on policy. Our goal is to raise $100 million over the next 4 years, as Andrea said, to hopefully get these organizations close to fully funded so they can stay doing what they're doing, ultimately to realize the dream of my father and mother.
And I'd love to get you both to weigh in on this. Andrea, I'll start with you. You know, the King family has said before that America was built on the power of protest. You just mentioned it as well. Do you feel that today's demonstrations hold the same impact as it did when Dr. King and other change makers were fighting for civil rights back in the day?
I think in many ways, yes. I mean, we have to remember that civil rights movement was informed by the movement in India and Gandhi. So in each generation, I think that we utilize the tools and the techniques of the past while looking forward. So yes, I do think that protests are extraordinarily important. Our country was built on the power of protest. I think that whenever people come together, power is it never concedes. It always is people coming together and talking about how we could make this world and this nation work better for all of her individuals. That's always how we've had any type of change. And one important part of that is protest. Another very important part of that is organizing, which is why we are funding these groups, and they are organizing state by state on the ground every day.
We got about 20 seconds till the end of the show. Martin, I'm going to let you give the final thought.
Final thoughts are my father and mother taught us that it only takes a few good women and men to bring about change. We are talking about bringing people together, not building people up, not tearing people apart. Our nation is very divided right now. But if we want to survive, and I hope we will learn nonviolence so we don't have to, as Dad said, face non-existence.
Well, you can see why he loved Gandhi so much. Boy, the two of those are both powerful human beings, and their legacies live on forever. Thank you both so much for being with me. What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.